A lot of Travis Hunter talk. Cam Wolfe this week posted the following. We all know the Titans have the number 1 pick. So Brian Callahan, the head coach of Tennessee, and Tennessee's GM, Mike Borgonzi, said they view Hunter as primarily a cornerback. So Tennessee evaluates Travis Hunter, and they feel like if he was going to major in a position, he would major at cornerback. What's interesting is the Browns have the 2nd pick, and the Browns GM, Andrew Berry, said that they view Hunter primarily as a wide receiver. So the team with the 1st pick says, we see Hunter mostly as a corner. Team with the 2nd pick says, we see Hunter mostly as a wide receiver. What does Hunter think? Well, Evan Lazar posted this. Travis Hunter says it's up in the air when asked what position teams want him to play in the NFL. Hunter says some teams view him as a receiver, some as a defensive back. Hunter on what side of the ball he'd rather major in. Quote, I want to play 100% on both sides of the ball, but it's up to the organization. So Travis Hunter says he wants to play full-time wide receiver and cornerback. I don't think that's realistic. Not 100% of the time at the NFL level. Here's what Mass Live wrote. Again, that story, check it out. There's a lot more in this story than what I've shared today. It's tremendous work by Chris Mason, Karen Garigian, and Mark Daniels. Here's what Mass Live wrote about Travis Hunter. Defensively, the Patriots believe the best cornerback in the draft is Travis Hunter. Offensively, the Patriots believe the best wide receiver in the draft is Travis Hunter. The Patriots love Hunter. They think he's the best corner and the best receiver in this draft class. They love him. Now, a quick tidbit that's interesting. Today, Hunter measured in, and unlike Mason Graham, who I think his measurements disappointed some people, the measurements for Hunter actually came in, and I think likely surprised some people. The number surprised me. Hunter measured in over 6 feet tall, and here's the telling number. Hunter weighed in at 188 pounds. Some people thought Hunter might be in the 170s. Some people thought he'd be 170 to 175. He weighed in at 188. Travis Hunter is almost 190 pounds. And so that makes me feel even better about Travis Hunter because he's about 190. You might be able to get him to 195 to 200 pounds, somewhere in that range. So he's bigger than I thought he was going to be, which is good news. If Travis Hunter is there at 4, right now, February 28th, 2025, 3:36 Eastern Standard Time, if Travis Hunter is there at 4, I'm picking Travis Hunter. I reserve the right to change my mind. We've got 2 months until the draft, but that's where I'm at. So to recap, if there's no Hunter, no Carter, and you didn't sign Ronnie Stanley, I'm drafting Will Campbell. If Travis Hunter is sitting there at 4, unless you get knocked over by a crazy, overwhelming kind of trade offer, I'm drafting Travis Hunter at 4. And I've thought a lot about this. I've gone back and forth. I've been torn. But the Patriots ultimately need blue chip talent. And Travis Hunter is a blue chip talent. He and Abdul Carter are the 2 best players in this draft. If you have a chance to draft one of the 2 best players in the draft at number 4, then I'm doing it. The thing I like about what Travis Hunter said at the Combine this week is that he's leaving his future, right? He's leaving his future position and how he's going to be used. He's leaving that to the organization, whoever drafts him. And I think that says a lot about Hunter. He's not trying to dictate where he's going to play. He's not trying to put pressure on the team who's going to draft him. He could have easily said, I'm a cornerback first, or I'm a wide receiver first, but he didn't do that. He's leaving it up to the team that drafts him to decide his fate. And everything you read about Hunter and everything I've heard about Hunter, the guy is a tremendous teammate. He's a tremendous teammate. His character, reportedly, is off the freaking charts. And so when he goes out there in front of the media and he says it's going to be up to the organization, I think that shows us that character that people speak of. And that's why people love Travis Hunter off the field. He's willing to give whatever he's got to give to help his team out. He's not out there trying to dictate the terms. He's not out there trying to tell people, oh, if you're going to draft me, this is where I want to play. No. He would like to play 100% of the time, as he said, but it's up to the organization. And I think that speaks volumes. He gets it. Remember the Drake May stories last year about how he passed up NIL deals and he wouldn't sign big NIL deals unless his offensive line and his teammates were involved? And we had all these stories about Drake May and how Drake May's character was awesome, coming from a family full of, guys that played sports and all of that, and that Drake May was somebody who truly, truly got it, quote unquote. Hunter's another one of those guys that gets it. So no questions about his character, no questions about how he's going to be a teammate. He's one of the two best players in this draft. He has legitimate wide receiver one potential. So if you don't get T. Higgins, you don't get Chris Godwin, he has legitimate wide receiver one potential. When he walks into the facility, if he gets drafted at 4, he walks into the facility at Gillette, he's the best receiver in that room. As soon as he's drafted, he's the best receiver on this team. Again, given the current roster, things can happen. But right now, if Hunter was drafted tonight, he would be your best receiver. And you could have the Drake May, Travis Hunter combination for the next decade. If Drake May proves to be who he looked like he was last year, for most of the time, he had those flashes of looking like a franchise quarterback that you can bank on. If he continues to develop and he becomes that no doubt franchise guy, and you've got him and Travis Hunter together as a tag team for the next 10 years, I think you're doing pretty well. And really, what's the worst case scenario if you draft Travis Hunter? The worst case scenario is that the worst case scenario is that he completely bombs out of the league, which I don't think many people believe would happen. But as long as he stays healthy, the worst case scenario is you could end up with 2 young, shut-down cornerbacks in Christian Gonzalez and Hunter. If you decide that he's going to play corner, you've got Gonzalez, you've got Hunter, and then you add to the defensive line via free agency in this draft. And now all of a sudden, especially if Barmore comes back healthy, all of a sudden, you got a really difficult defense to play against. 2 shutdown corners, 2 number 1 guys on the outside. You address the defensive line in free agency. You draft 1 or 2 young defensive linemen to go along with those cornerbacks. And now life is very difficult for any offense that plays against you. Now, of course, if you draft Hunter over Will Campbell, you obviously need to find tackles somehow, some way. Whether you do that in free agency, whether you do that via trade. If you draft Hunter, you have to have somebody there at left tackle that has actually played the position in the NFL. And I'm not talking about Vidarian Lowe. But that's how I feel. If Hunter's there at 4, I'm drafting him. And again, that's today. We got 2 months. Things can change. But from what I know right now, I would draft Hunter at 4 if he was there. If he's not there at 4, and you didn't get Ronnie Stanley, especially, then I'm drafting Will Campbell. Now, if you did get Ronnie Stanley, Hunter and Carter are not there at 4, now I'm really looking to trade down, or I'm looking at one of the better defensive players in the draft, right? Whether that is Mason Graham or Mykel Williams, one of those guys. That's when I start looking at those names. But that's what I'm looking at right now. New era starts on Monday. Everything Pats, a New England Patriots podcast, will be the new name of this podcast starting on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. When we go live, I'll still be here. It's the same show, just a name tweak. It'll look a little bit different on YouTube. You'll get the gist when we pop up on Monday. But Everything Pats, the new podcast name. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your fellow Patriots fans, Everything Pats. What podcast do you listen to? Everything Pats.